Hello, and welcome to another episode of the D Hope podcast. Thank you for joining us today. And we're just going to go on a whimsical journey today. So,
Yes,
so just be with us, enjoy as we talk about some wonderful things. So today it's Hope and I, and we're glad to be here with you and to just have a conversation that will always bring us back to hope and resiliency, which is what we're
that's
about.
right.
So, Hope, I have three questions, maybe four. We'll see.
And I don't
But
know these
my
questions either.
yeah, so I love the element of surprise. So
Yeah.
now, if you recall, when you were going through the Genesis process,
Mhm.
right? So in process three of the Genesis process, it talks about identity, right?
Mhm.
So in the first part, there's these two questions in the first part of that particular section. And the first question is, how does God speak to you?
Okay.
So
Um then how do I feel like he was speaking to me then or now?
or now, yeah, like how does he speak to you?
Okay, that's a good one. Um now I feel God speak to me in his presence through different things. So one way is I feel it through dreams.
Mhm.
I feel it through prayer. Well, let me go back to dreams. So, through dreams, when I feel like God is speaking to me, is if a lot of times I can wake up and just feel like something is very important, and I know that like I remember that, and God's trying to show me something from that, and so I meditate on it, and a lot of times for days, and he has actually spoken to me and shown me things through that process, and warnings of things as well. I had a when I first started recognizing it, I reached out to Tawana because I knew that that dream meant something, and so it was just one of those feelings in my gut, like I knew God was trying to speak to me, and I didn't understand it, but I knew that it was important. I reached out to Tawana, and she put me in contact with somebody who interprets dreams, and
Mhm.
so I reached out, and I promise you, I I I wrote out, I sent this message to this lady because I said, I really feel like God's trying to talk to me through this dream. Can you please interpret it? And she
Mhm.
interpreted that dream, and everything that she said in that dream was it. If you believe in psychics, then you need to believe in this because I'm telling you what it was like a warning dream. Oh, and I
Okay.
knew it was. I knew that God was trying to show me and warn me something from this dream, and I felt it. I felt it in my spirit, and I knew it was from God. And she interpreted that dream, and everything that she interpreted was true. And I still have it actually because
Mhm.
a couple of months later, everything that she said actually happened.
Okay.
And I said, God was trying to warn me in that dream, and had I just listened,
Yeah.
um, he was like, I knew God was trying to talk to me, and I was just it was I was very early on. I actually like in this process of recovery and building my relationship, but I did have the discernment to know that it was from God. I just didn't realize exactly what it was. So now if I feel that way, I try to listen
Listen.
because I feel like he is trying to send me warnings, or I mean, not always. This doesn't mean it's always bad. I mean, a lot of times it's
Yeah.
good too, but I try to listen to it. So dreams is one way. Um, Another way is just prayer, just being in his presence, and just listening. There's been like I'd it's like kind of like an audible voice a couple of times that I've just felt God like say like what I needed to hear. And
Yeah.
that was usually when I was fasting, and when I was just, in this prayer, in this meditation, and it was just like he just spoke to me. And then through my Bible, through my reading, and also just through nature and stuff. I can go outside
Hmm.
and go for a walk and just feel, you know, just God kind of just, it's like a conversation, really.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, that's how I connect. I mean, really
Yeah.
through everything.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. So there are several ways
Yeah.
that you connect with them. Have you ever had the experience of, like, you may have seen something or heard something, and you heard it like multiple times, and you thought maybe God is trying to speak to me through that way?
Hmm. Hmm. I also think God speaks to us through people too.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I like think of something, and then I don't know if it was from God or not, just say maybe I think it's just my thought.
Yeah.
And then you say we're having a conversation, and then you mention something, and then I'm like, wow, maybe that's confirmation. Then God's trying to tell me something, because sometimes it's
Yeah.
hard to tell whether it's my will, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think, is this my will or is this God's will?
Yeah.
So if I get confirmation from someone else who I feel like aligns with whatever I thought maybe God was trying to tell me or show me, then that's how I know too.
Yeah. Like, I had this thing a couple of weeks ago, and this is not the first time that I've experienced this, but I was in my Wednesday class, and we were having a time of worship before class began. And as I had my head down, and I was looking at the floor, where there's carpet on the
Mhm.
floor, and it looked like, yeah, sometimes like the pattern, I guess, of the carpet sometimes can look like something. Or
Yeah.
have you ever been looking like at a floor or a wooden floor, and it looks like something is
Yeah.
in that floor? So I was looking down, and it looked like an owl was in the, like, shape of an owl in the carpet. And so I was like, oh, that's it, like, that looks like an owl in the in
Yeah.
the carpet. And so a few minutes later, just kind of looking around, and the person in front of me, her bag was on the floor. Her bag had an owl on it.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so now I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Okay, I see the owl in the carpet,
Yeah.
and now I'm looking at this bag, and there's an owl on her bag. So I'm like, so anytime something like that happens, like that's twice,
Did
it
you
piques my
Google?
interest.
Did you
Yeah,
Google what it meant?
so I Googled what it meant, and one of the things which I had already like I had already heard, like, long time ago, that owls were symbols of wisdom.
Mm.
And so, like, so I thought about that, and I was like, I feel like I heard that somewhere. So I looked it up, which sometimes I can be reluctant to look up stuff like that,
Yeah.
on the World Wide Web, because you don't know what you're gonna get,
Yeah.
see when you look under it. But so one of them was, like, what it said was that it, wisdom, and um what else did it, I can't remember the other, but wisdom stood out to me, I guess because I had heard that before too. um it was like wisdom, wealth, and something else. So when we got into our after class, we got into our smaller group session, and I was telling them about, like, hey, I just saw that. And I was like, and I said, usually, I said, if I see something twice, it piques my interest. I said, but if I see it a third time,
Yeah.
then I'm really like, okay, like what is really going on? So I think it was the next day. Um, I was at home. I don't know. I don't think it was that evening. I think it was the next day. But my husband's scrolling on his phone, and he shows me this huge owl, like huge, like a huge. It was a huge, and I was
Yeah,
like,
I
that
would
can't
definitely be
be.
wondering what it meant
Yeah, I was
or
like,
what it
that can't
represented.
be. Yeah, I was like, that can't be a real owl because it was huge. And I was like, okay, that's the third time. And like he didn't know anything about the
Me
owl thing.
either.
So yeah, so I was like, okay, that's the third time I've seen an owl. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, like the wisdom. So I always, whenever somebody asks me how can they pray for me, I always say wisdom. Like that's the first thing I say because that's really what I want. I want
Yeah.
the I want him to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's one of the first things that I'll ask for. And so during our prayer time, she was, taking our prayer request. And
Mhm.
so that was the thing. I was like, well, I just, pray for wisdom and just for like whatever next steps, or things that God has for me, that they are clear, that they are clear.
Mhm.
And so one of the ladies that's in the group, she after the prayer, um, she was like, I heard, God say simple wisdom.
Mhm.
When she was praying for you, she said, I heard him say simple wisdom. And I was like, she was like, and to me, that means clarity, which is what I was, like asking
Yeah.
for too. And I said, yeah, I said, you know what? I said, and I say that often that I don't do hard, so he has to make it simple for me.
Mhm.
Um, so I was
Yeah,
like,
me
well,
too.
that just, yeah, this just makes sense.
Yeah.
But so like it with the like signs and like the stuff like that, or I might, like you were saying earlier, I might hear somebody, or hear somebody say something, then I like hear somebody else that's seemingly totally unrelated to that person say something again.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like, okay, am I supposed to like it's like I'm supposed to pay attention to this for some reason. um
I believe that there's signs, like with astrology and things like that. So I also think it's like how you look at it. Like you said, like I've had like a yellow butterfly, a
mhm.
dragonfly. And when I see these things, which I often do, like it's kind of like I'm like, okay, God, like thank you. I know you're here. Like
Yeah,
it's just kind of remembrance of like I'm still here, I'm still with you, or whatever it is like a confirmation for me. And I think that sometimes that's all we need, and it's God made this world, so it's through nature as well. It's through
yeah,
the stars, the moon, it's through all of this existence. And you can get signs from that too. It's not just
yeah,
from the Bible. I
yes.
get it from a lot of places and things
Yeah,
and people.
because I think like he knows us, so he knows how to speak to us.
Yeah.
You know, so I think like that's extremely important because I know a lot of times people ask, well, how do I hear God, or they think they don't hear him,
Mhm.
or something like, well, he's not talking to me, and I'm like, he probably is talking to you. You're
Yeah.
just not aware that of how, and I'm like, a major way he's already said a whole bunch to us through the Bible itself.
Mhm.
So when it comes to knowing the difference between, his voice, my voice, or somebody else's, I'm
Mhm.
like, I just it's his voice that matters. So like my voice doesn't matter,
Mhm.
nobody else's voice matters. It's his voice that matters. So what does he say? And if some, even if somebody is speaking to me, or in the events of prophesying, somebody
Yeah.
prophesying over you, then it's, does it line up with the word of God?
Yes. That's how
Because
you
if it
know.
lines up, yeah, if it lines
Mhm.
up, then okay. If it doesn't, then we have a problem, you know.
And I've always been kind of iffy about like I mean, people do have that gift. I mean, I've experienced it like
Yeah.
through that dream I just had spoken about.
Yeah.
But I'm also iffy about it too. um, but like you said, if it lines up with the word of God, because also, I mean, there are psychics and things like that who are not working from a place of God and can tell
Yeah.
you things as well. And I've experienced that side of it too. And so it's you have to just be careful and have discernment.
Yes. And I believe too, with the with prophecy, like with
Mhm.
somebody like coming to you and saying, hey, the Lord told me to tell you this, or something like that, that you I think he's maybe already spoken it to you
Ah,
in
yeah.
some kind of way, shape, form, or fashion,
Mhm.
um or like you may have had like I said, like a dream or something
Mhm.
that you like, and even if you didn't like believe it, or whatever,
Mhm.
it's like if somebody else comes and say, hey, the Lord told me to tell this to you, then I think that's how, it's like he's confirming it, is like a
Yeah.
confirmation more so than it is like a, oh my gosh, well, or if he didn't tell you it already, like it may be something that sounds completely outlandish to you,
Mhm.
right? And then something, some things may happen, and it's like, okay, you might completely forget about the prophecy, but then
Mhm.
stuff starts going on, and then he brings it back to your remembrance of,
Yeah.
hey, remember when I told, such and such, or this person came, and said this to you. Then it's like, oh, like, huh, oh, yeah, I do remember that. And so to me, that's more of a case of, because I believe that sometimes if people come and tell us stuff,
Mhm.
we may subconsciously start doing stuff to try to make that thing happen,
Mm.
or to not make it happen.
Okay.
And
That
so I
makes
think
sense.
that's why we do have to be uh, aware of who's talking to us, and who,
Mhm.
what I'm saying, like what, because every time somebody comes up to you or whatever and says, hey, the Lord told me to tell you such and such,
Yeah.
do I know, you like, like, does that even sound like something he would say,
Yeah.
like,
You
and
have to
in
just be
regards to
you
me.
yeah, you just have to I think you just have to be careful and have that discernment. And then at the end of the day, I guess I just trust God. So I'm like, well, if God wants that for me, then God will make a way for it to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, like, okay, yeah, it's like,
But
okay, if
sometimes,
that's what he wants.
like going back to that dream, because I do have dreams, so I that's what I relate to more so than
Yeah.
anything else. But even after I had that dream interpreted, and I knew, just in my whole existence, that that was truth,
Yeah.
I disassociated with it because it was not what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And so I kept it though because I knew it was important.
Yeah.
But I just kind of was just like, oh, whatever, whatever. And then months later, I went back to it and I
Yeah.
was just like, God, that's pretty amazing how, like, I'm like, she has a good gift here.
Yeah.
Um, because God was
Yeah.
really, talking to me, and I was not wanting to listen.
It's like, I don't think that's him. Yeah.
And it was like
Yeah.
I knew it was, but, sometimes God, even if it's something good, sometimes God can speak life and speak something,
Yes.
a dream, something really powerful into our lives, and he gives us this word, and if we're afraid of it, if we're in fear of it, or if we don't feel like we're capable of doing whatever that calling is or whatever he has, I feel like a part of us still want to run from it. So we kind of push it to the side. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
that's not for me. That's for somebody else.
Yeah. And he's like, no, it's not. It's for you. Did I
Yeah.
ever tell you about the dream that I had before I started working at the foundry?
I don't think so. Tell me.
Okay, so I had this dream and I could tell that I was talking to somebody
Mm-hmm.
about like whatever was going on like behind me, but I couldn't see what was going on behind me, nor could I like see the person that I was talking to. But I
Yeah.
just knew that I was telling them about whatever was going on behind me. And like at some like car lots or whatever where they might have the like little triangle shape, different color like red, blue, yellow
Mm-hmm.
little things around
Yeah.
the car. So though that was like around wherever I was talking to this person about whatever was going on
Yeah.
behind me. Um, and so when I woke up, I was like, who wants me to be their spokesperson? Like that's what who wants me to be who wants me to be their spokesperson? And so
Yeah.
I just, like just was like that was weird, it was a weird
Yeah.
dream. And so just, moving on with life, had forgot about the dream, had kind of forgot
Yeah.
about the dream. Um, so started working at the foundry, and I'm there for like I'm maybe like a month and a half or 2 months in to working. And I was getting ready to go to a small group that I was attending that fall. And so we used to have where the community would come and have lunch on Tuesdays. So there was a young man that used to come to the lunches at the
Mm-hmm.
outreach. And so he was coming across the parking lot, and he says, he was like, I need to talk to them. And he's pointing like up towards I was coming out of the worship center. So
Yeah.
he's pointing up towards the women's center. And I'm like, who do you need to talk to? So I'm looking around. So I see that there's a Fox 6 van
Oh.
parked out there, and I said, oh, okay. I said, well, what do you need to talk to them for? So I'm, just talking to
Mm-hmm.
him, and I'm putting my stuff in the car. And so I finished talking to him, and then I was about to get in the car, and I see that my phone was lighting up. And so when I picked it up, I had like several like missed calls. So I was like who is trying to get in touch with
Yeah.
me this bad? So I'll look at it, and so at the time our COO, she was calling, and I was like, I wonder what she needs. So I saw that her car was still up there. So I said, well, she said, let me just go in here and see what she needs.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I walked in, she goes, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're still here. And I said, okay, like what's going on? So she said, I need you to go on TV for me. And I said, huh? I was like, what? So
You're
she
like,
said,
hold
I need
on,
you.
I don't know if I
Yeah,
can do that.
I haven't ever gone on TV that I
Yeah.
know of. Yes, it's just like, I need you to go on TV for me. So I was like, she was like, what they're, here about. So are perfect person. So I told her, I said, I haven't even combed my hair today. And so she said, it's fine. You look great. You
I
look
don't
great. You can
care.
go.
This is the
Yeah,
job
like
for you.
yeah, you could do it. So I said, well, okay. I mean, I'll do it. So I
I
go
love
on
your
there.
attitude.
Yeah,
You're like, well,
yes. It's like,
whatever.
all right. Yeah, like that's what you need from me. So
Hmm.
I go on. I talk about the program that they are wanting to hear about. And I go on with my evening. So I go to my small group. Now I
That's
forget,
cool. That's
yeah,
cool.
that I have done this interview. I
Yeah.
within the small group, I forget. So after my small group, there again, I pick up my phone and I see all of these messages from people like, "Hey, superstar," and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, "Superstar? What are they talking about?" Then I go,
And
"Oh,
they saw you on
the
TV.
new, yeah." It's like they saw me on the. I was
So
like,
you spoke oh, so you just spoke really quick, and then you went to
yeah,
your
just
small group. So now
to
they're
my
like, "Hey, why didn't you tell us you were just on TV?"
yeah, and I'm like, what? So I'm thinking like, why is all of these messages? And then
Mhm.
when I was like, hey, so I'm like, what are they? What is that? What are they talking about? I go, oh, the new, the
Yeah.
news. They've seen the news. So I go, oh my goodness. So one of my cousins, I called her back, and she said, I knew it was you before I even looked at the television. She
That
said, I heard you, and I was like, that's Donna, and I turned
she said,
around.
"That's Donna."
And I was like, is my voice that distinctive?
Yeah.
But I had been told that a lot, that, like you could never like prank call anyone because they knew it was you. So I was like, that is the darndest thing. But then he brought that dream back to my remembrance like the next day. It was like, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm somebody's
That's,
spokesperson.
yeah.
So that was the beginning of me doing, the news.
Isn't that, isn't that so cool though, how the Lord, like, kinda, like, speaks to us like that, and how he had
Yes.
already given you, like, that
Yes.
vision prior to it even happening.
Yes.
Um, like, that's I just think that that's, like, the coolest thing.
Yes. Because I would have never, like, ever
And I love your
thought,
attitude where
yeah.
you're just like, "Okay, well, if that's what's in it for me."
Yeah. Because I was like, I haven't even combed. And at that time, I had a fro. So I was like, I haven't even combed my hair today.
Yeah.
She was like, you look
But, like,
fine.
God had already like, he already knew, like, that day, like, "Hey, Donna, I'm
Yeah.
gonna need you to
To
fill
step,
in, to step
yeah,
up
to
and to be that spokesman."
spread. Yes. And so that was the
Which I'm
beginning
sure
of
you did
me.
a fabulous job. Wonder if I can Google that and find it really quick.
I don't know. I don't know if they'd have it somewhere, but it's because it was what, that was
I was gonna say, it was
2014.
years yeah, it was a
Yeah,
few years
that
ago.
was 2014. But it was so funny. But that was my first of a few television and radio spots.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
And
but I
maybe God
thought,
was just kinda, like, setting you up for, like, "Hey, this is, the beginning of something that, I know I've kinda called you to
yeah,
step into."
yeah. But he brought that dream back to my remembrance, and I was like, oh my goodness, like you were
Yeah.
telling me that, before I even got here, um,
Yeah.
that
That's
this
really
would
neat.
be on the radar. Yeah, but and too, like at that time, with the foundry had a car lot, like we,
So
yeah,
it all
like
made
they,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, so it was even though it was like the spokes, so even though I wasn't talking about the cars,
Yeah.
it was a car lot like thing in the,
Yeah.
in the dream. So is it was, him telling me like, hey, this is, I'm about to send you over here where there's this ministry, that has
Yeah,
all of
because that
these
was
amazing
prior to
people.
you going into it, right? And you were looking
Yeah.
for something different, like, you were
Yeah.
ready to go into a different calling.
Colin.
That's so
Yeah.
yeah, that's so neat.
Yeah, and I absolutely did not know, um at the time that I had that dream. I don't even know. I don't think I had. I think I was still. I'm pretty sure I was still working in pediatric cardiology, and so at that
Okay.
time, I don't think that I even
You
knew.
couldn't connect the dots yet.
Yeah, because I hadn't like yet. It hadn't like dawned on me really that hey, there's
Yeah,
something else that you need to be doing.
yeah.
But I was just like, man, like it was why that dream was wow that
Well,
it
I feel like
actually.
it's, it's carried on. So that's kind of like you've started that, but you've really kind of
Yeah.
continued to be like a spokesperson, a
Yeah.
spokeswoman,
Yeah.
for the ministry and for the foundry and other things as well. I mean,
Yeah.
now what we're doing, but it started there.
Started there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I never, like, I really wouldn't have, I wouldn't have thought about it. And like um, growing up and into my adulthood, um, people have said to me, like, had I thought about doing like radio or
Mm.
stuff because of my voice. And I was like, I know that, and like, it was just because I talked to people over the phone a lot,
Yeah.
in my different jobs, and
Hmm.
I would get that question like you should be on the radio, like you should be on the radio, your voice is like, and I'm like, I don't think I have that fantastic um of a voice, but I would get that like a lot, to the
Yeah.
point of like, I worked in cardiovascular associates at this time. So one of the ladies that I worked with, she used to like listening to this particular radio station, and they would have where they would buy your office lunch if you were the certain like number of caller or whatnot.
Yeah.
So they would have that. So she called in, and she was the caller, like she
It
was the
was.
number of the caller. So but she was scared to talk to me. So she was like, come and talk. So it just so happened we had the same name. She and I had the same name. So she was like, Donna, come talk to him. I'm scared. I can't talk to him. I'm like, you called him. Like, you need to talk to him. She's like, no, please. I'm so scared. I'm so scared. So I was like, okay. So they were like, who do we have, like on the line? I was like, this is Donna, working with Cardiovascular Associates. So I was like, okay, you're our winner and such, da, da, da. So I get off the phone, and she was like, thank you so much. So somebody calls, so this gentleman calls our place of work and asks to speak with Donna that was just on the radio. So I was like, Donna, you got to call. So I'm like, what? They was like, this person is asking for the Donna that was just on the radio. So I get on the phone. So he was like, hey, I heard you on the radio, and I just, wanted to tell you that you sound so good. I was like, this is freaky. Like, like,
You're like,
I'm like, now
look,
you know where I work. I don't
like
know.
you're like, look, I'm not
Yeah,
interested.
I'm like,
Please.
I don't know what type of stuff you own, my man, but I'm not on that, like, so I'm like, well, thank you. He was like, have you considered? And so he asked me, have you considered like doing radio? I was like, no, I haven't. I was like, but you're not the first person to ask me that. So I
Yeah.
was like, apparently I had some sort of radio voice or something. Uh,
I
too.
could see that though.
But it's wild.
That is
I'm
so
like,
interesting.
yeah, but never thought about it. Being on the radio personally, even though
Yeah.
people would say it a lot. Yeah, but I love when I like that he does speak to us through dream. Some people through dreams. I thought everybody dreamed until I was told that
Not
they
everybody
didn't.
dreams.
Yeah, and I was just like shocked because I thought
Mhm.
everybody dreamed, and I thought
Mm-mm.
everybody dreamed in color, and apparently
No.
that's not true either. So
Mm-mm.
I was like, oh, well, okay, well, I thought because I did, everybody else did, everybody
Uh-uh.
else did too. But I started asking people when I heard that. I'm like, do you dream? They're like, you know what? I don't know. And I'm like, you don't know if like you like,
Mhm.
I don't. If I do, I don't remember them. I'm like,
Yeah,
I remember, a good bit of my dreams, and I'm
I do
like, so you
too.
don't even dream at all, nor do you dream in color. I'm like, so, and then some people, I'm like, they go, yeah, I dream. I'm like, is it in color? They go, now I don't know if I dreamed in color or not. I don't think so. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, apparently everybody doesn't
Yeah.
do that. But so I think that is a I love that he speaks to both of us through through
Yeah.
our dreams and through the different signs and when we like for me when I hear stuff it's like if especially if I hear it twice then I'm like okay, if I hear it a third time then I'm really like okay, what are you saying to me? What do you want me to do or what do you need me to do with this or why am I supposed to pay attention, like why am I needing to pay attention to this?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Even
so like
sometimes with social media too.
yeah,
If I'm like on YouTube or something and I've looked up a video or I looked up whatever and then something short, like a little clip of something that's not what I was even looking at pops up,
yeah.
I tend to pay attention to that kind of stuff. I mean, sometimes I know that it's not from from God, but
Yeah, yeah, but
sometimes
sometimes
but
yeah,
sometimes it may be something that I feel like I needed to listen to
yeah,
and to hear. And so
yes,
when I feel like that, then I'm like, well, thank you, Lord. Like I did need to hear that
yeah.
today.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely him prompting us when we, just might see something. Like we may have a thought about something and then are
Mhm.
scrolling or something and see something related to the thought that we
Mhm.
may have had. And I do think that that's him confirm, like hey, like yeah, you're thinking on the right track
Yeah.
or whether because often when that happens with me, it's a scripture may pop up,
Mhm.
that's related to what my thought may have been. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, thank you, Lord, for showing me your word, clarify, not only clarifying, but just, okay, what that was not just me, having that
Yeah.
thought or whatever. Um, like not few weeks ago, like I had the song it came to mind, He's an On Time God,
Mm.
by this gospel artist, Dottie Peoples. Um, and sometimes I'll just randomly burst out in song.
Yeah.
And so I was singing that morning when I got in the car on my way to work, the song came on the radio, which
Yeah.
I rarely listen to the actual
Radio.
radio.
Radio. Yeah.
That morning it was on 105.1 and that song came on. I was like, okay. like I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
he's
sometimes
on
like a
time.
song will come on like right at the time that I need it.
Yeah.
Um, I've had that. Or I might just be kind of like mentally in kind of like some kind of funk or something. And then I'll hear a song or something and and it just kind of lifts my spirit up.
Yes.
It reminds me of like, God's here, God's with you, and like He's gonna see you
Yes.
through whatever it is. So get out of your own way.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So the third question that I had was, what was the last thing that he said to you?
Do you trust me?
That's huge. Do you trust me?
Hmm.
So what was your answer?
Yes, Lord, yes.
Yeah. Like, yes, I do. I do trust you. Um, and that's like on the lines of something that I think I posted. I don't know if it was last week or week before, um, about him wanting to help us.
Hmm.
And like, but do we want him to? And kind of
Hmm.
the trust that because that does require us to trust him.
Hmm.
Um, I think to even go to him, we gotta trust him. Like, as if I know that if I don't have a level of trust for you, I'm not telling you nothing, or I'm coming to you about anything. Because I mean,
Yeah.
in my mind, it
And I
might be, what's
think,
the point?
mhm, I think too, for so long, and I'm still kind of like this, but I became very guarded, so I didn't trust anyone, and
Hmm.
I can still very much be like that, um, and I'm much better about it now, but it's kind of like, I'll give you this, Lord. But he's not saying I want this. He's saying, "Are you willing to give me everything?"
Yeah,
So when you're willing and to give me everything, um, that's showing that you completely trust me.
absolutely. Yes. And that is something that he had been
Well,
reminding me of over the past, few weeks, of that complete, of like complete trust in him. Like, I
mhm,
said often that I 100% trust God. And like when people ask me now about, because I was the same way. I didn't trust people. I
yeah,
didn't trust people. And it did make it a little bit difficult for me to trust God, because I'm like, if I can't trust who I can see, how am I going to trust who I can't see? But after like just learning who he is and his
yeah,
character, and the fact that he will never leave me nor forsake me, like, he's not a man that
yeah.
that he should lie. you know God is a spirit.
Mhm,
And so all of those scriptures that have helped me to just, that solidifies my trust in him, and just going through things and him continuously proving himself, to me.
yeah,
So it's like, no, like I can absolutely trust him. So it changed the dynamic of how I related to people. And what I came to understand was that I was dependent on people for stuff that they had no business, that they weren't, I won't say no business, that they weren't responsible for in my life.
mhm.
And because I
Oh, that's
was,
good.
yeah, like depending on them for what I should have been dependent on God for, that's why I had zero trust. And so now when people ask, well, how do you get to the place where you just trust, well, how do you trust people? And I really I mean, it's not that I don't, I'm like, it's not that it's just like I don't have to, like, I don't
Mhm.
there's no I don't if you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. It's because the I'm not dependent on people. And so because I'm not
Well,
dependent
that's
on
good.
people, that changed the trust factor. So it's like, no, I trust God 100%. So
Mhm.
whatever I need, or he's got it. It's in him. So I don't have
Yeah.
to, I'm not begging people, or what I'm saying, or if they don't do something that they said they were going to do, like half the time I don't know why you couldn't. If you said you were going to do it and you didn't, I may not know why you didn't. And
Mhm.
even if you do tell me why you can't, I've got to choose to believe that one way or one way or the
Yeah.
other. So it's just like, okay, so I really don't have to trust people, because I trust God 100%. So that's the
That's
only way that I
good.
could like explain to
Yeah,
people when they
that's
ask me
good.
that. Yes, I'm
Well,
like,
it
yeah, I'm
helps
just not
with
dependent.
expectations too and disappointment because yeah, it just helps with your overall attitude. So, I mean, if someone can't do something, well, okay. Like, I mean, I trust that what you're saying is why you can't, and so well, let's
Yes,
just figure it out. Let's just move
yeah,
on.
yeah, because
Um,
that's what we're gonna have to do anyway.
Yeah, so I
you
love
know,
that though. I love that
yeah,
you have that because I know it went goes back to something you I think I'd mentioned it before, but you had told me well you just have to trust what someone tells you,
yeah,
and I was just you know in me I don't want to trust nothing. So now you're lying,
Yeah.
but what does that benefit in me?
Yeah, like,
Like,
but
I need to just
adding
trust, that
like
what you're saying, and
saying,
if you
yeah,
are being, untrustworthy or dishonest, like, it will come out, but if my
yeah,
foundation is in God, then it doesn't matter because, either way, I'm gonna be okay. Like,
okay,
there
yeah,
no matter what it is.
yes,
And so,
absolutely.
that does help, but that still takes a process.
Yeah, and I think it because it did. It took a process,
Mhm.
a process with me to the point where, like, I got to, I'm like, you know what, I really don't. Now I don't react. I don't react
Mm.
to people like I used to react to them.
Yeah, you do
Um,
really well with just like, "Okay,
yeah,
well, what do we have
like,
next?"
okay, yeah, like, what do you? All right, yeah. So it's always funny to me when people go, oh my goodness, you're gonna be so upset with me. I'm probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not gonna be upset with you, you know. Or about something as it's like, yeah, no, I mean, I just I don't get bent out of shape much.
Yeah.
About stuff that I don't have zero control over. Like, I can't force you to do anything. I can't, Um, but I'm learning more now of like having those conversations, having conversations with people
Mhm.
and just being upfront. Um,
Yeah.
about, like, I mean, whatever my expectation is, here's the expectation. You're either gonna meet it or not, or
Mhm.
you could exceed it. I mean, either way, I
Yeah.
don't know what you're going to do, with it. But I'm like, my expectations aren't really much either.
Yeah.
It's that's really not much. I would prefer if you're honest with me,
Mhm.
but if you choose not to be, I mean,
It's
that's
like
is
one
what
of
it
those
is.
things where, like, I can't control it if you're not.
Yeah, like,
So, like,
what can I
why
do
am I
about it?
gonna get upset over something? That helped me with behaviors.
Yeah,
When I recognized because I wanted to control, I wanted to fix everything. Like, I can't, why would I waste so much energy and so much time wanting to control how you're going to behave? Like, if you want to do something, you're going to do it. And like, no matter if I want you to do it or not. So if whether you're going to do it in front of me, you're going to do it in secret. Like, I mean, you can't
yeah,
control people.
mm,
So letting go and being less reactive and letting people just be who they're going to be. And the same
yes,
goes for me. Like, I mean, just let me be who God's called me to be. Like, in the
yes.
little things as well. It'll make life so much easier.
It sure will. And I was watching yesterday, I was watching Club Shay Show, which I like to watch. Excuse me, I'm bending.
You're
Uh,
fine.
uh Club Shay Shay, and he was interviewing this comedian, Dion Cole. And he was talking about how he had uh he had worn something and got like a lot of backlash for wearing this particular thing. And he was talking about how, like, it cost him, like some business ventures and stuff like
Mhm.
that. um but then he said, like, the like a couple of weeks later, somebody else wore the same like thing and was kind of like praised for wearing it. And I was
Mhm.
like, that's interesting. In which I often say, I just, I really, it would be great if people would just leave people alone.
I know.
Um, and whatever they're doing,
Mhm.
it's them doing. Like, what is it to you? Like,
Oh, yeah.
really, what is it to you that whatever they are doing?
Mhm.
um Now, it's a difference than if somebody is doing somebody that I know is doing something that's going to directly impact my life.
Mhm.
Then, okay, ideally I might want to bring it up,
Yeah.
and say, hey, what you're doing could
Mhm.
negatively
Mhm.
impact, impact not just you, but me and maybe some other people.
Yeah.
So, can we just reevaluate and maybe not do whatever it is?
Yeah.
But I'm like, if it is not going to cause you any harm and you don't even know the person, why is it any of your business what they are doing, wearing, whatever? It's
Yeah.
just really not.
There's so much online hate.
Yes, and that was
I don't
that was
understand
exactly
it.
what he said. Yes.
It's so much. I don't understand it. I don't understand why people get so upset.
Yes. And that
Even
is
in
exactly what he
with
said.
voting and the election coming up. Like, don't just
Yeah, like just
you vote for who you want to, and
want
I'll vote
to.
for who I
Yes.
want to, and guess what? We can still be friends. Like,
Yes. Because I'm like, they're all like at the
it's
really in the grand scheme, they're all of the candidates are not being 100% truthful
yes.
because a lot of the stuff that you may be saying, you may not be able to accomplish.
hmm
So it's like, just I'm with you. Vote for whoever you're going to vote for. It's none of my business who
Yeah,
you're going to vote.
I
Like,
didn't I like I
vote
don't
for whoever you.
care.
I don't care. Yeah, like vote for whoever you're going to vote for. And whatever, because there again, my dependence is on God.
Yeah, it's like I'm like
That's
honestly, and
where
I
my
don't know like because I'm like I really like I don't care. Like
yeah.
it's not going to
I'm not looking for the government to save my life because they
exactly
can.
like it's I
Yeah,
mean it
because
is
they
what it
can.
is. Like I mean
Yeah,
I
it
can't
yeah.
change
Yeah.
that
Okay. Yeah. So
situation.
yes, I get that. Oh, people fought for rights to vote and all that and carrying on. And I don't need, I really don't need or want to hear about it. But like because I know that I know that people did,
Mm,
Um, but to try to it's manipulative in my like it's all of it is a little manipulative.
yeah,
um
it
and it's like
it
just
really is, and people take
yeah,
it way too far.
yeah,
Um,
like
like in our neighborhood, there's a lot of Karens, and there's this app where you can like it's kind of entertaining to me.
Mhm.
Sometimes I get caught up reading it because I'm like, oh my goodness, like this people
What is
are
going on?
really getting into each other's businesses or business.
Yeah.
And there was some political signs out in the yard, and people were really offended, and so started stating the HOA rules and
Oh my
rules and
goodness.
guidelines. And I mean, there was just hundreds of comments. Um, and I'm like, now they have paid for their property. That is none of your business what they want to put in their yard.
Yard,
I don't
like
care whether
just
you agree, disagree, whatever. I don't care if they want to
yes,
put 50 signs in their yard. Like, I mean, if they paid for that property, they should be okay. Um,
doing what yes,
you know, because then you have people who disagree with whatever the signs say, and so now
yeah,
they're going to
now they're
bring out
mad.
the guidelines.
Yeah,
But then the people who want to vote for whoever the politician is, then they're like off. It was just this. It was highly entertaining, and then I was just kind
yeah.
of like, this is so silly. Like I'm losing brain cells by reading this. I need to move
That's what I say. It's like to each of like do whatever it is you're gonna do. I mean, do that. And if I can speak into your life and
on.
give you a different perspective, like you don't if you take it, you take it. If you don't, you don't. Like it is what it is.
Yeah. Hmm.
Until it's not. Like
Yeah.
that's just the thing. It is what it is until it's not. And so if we have that kind of rapport and relationship and I can, say something to help you along the way, then cool. And the same, same with me. Like I want if you can say something helpful, you know, if it,
Yeah.
but if you just spewing hate for the sake of spewing hate, nobody want to hear that.
No.
And
Nobody does.
yeah, it's like, what business is it of mine, whatever you're doing? It's like, what you wearing, who cares? If
Yeah.
you bought it and you wanted to put that on,
Yes.
okay. Like, what does that have to do with me? Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Like,
I
but it
agree
is a trip.
100%.
Like, yes, it is a trip. Like, I do see like this stuff where people like they comment on stuff as if they are present in the
Mhm.
whole situation.
Mhm.
And it's like, then well, I don't know them. Well, how do you, you're just
Yeah.
spreading hearsay at this point,
Yeah.
like you're spreading hearsay about what you don't know about. But it's wild to me, the hate that comes out
Yeah.
in people, and what I'm seeing more and more, it's that underlying need or want to control something that
Mhm.
you have zero control over.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
that it's the wildest thing. And but like when he was saying it cost him, like, it was like people like stop messing with me on a certain level after
That's so
some stuff.
wow.
And I'm like, well, that's really interesting. But I've seen that, I've seen that happen to
Mhm.
to people, where they'll somebody will hear something, or they'll see something that another person is doing,
Mhm.
or they don't agree with, and then they just throw the whole like relationship away. And it's like, was it really that bad?
And I think you have to just realize, like, some people just are gonna hate no matter what, and some people are not
Mm-hmm.
gonna like you, disagree, and they may not even have a reason, and
Yeah.
it could just be who you're associated with, what you stand for,
Yeah.
yeah, there's just different degrees. But when I think about that, I just think it reminds me of like Jesus with like so many people who, his
Yes.
story it has changed,
Yes.
everyone's lives really. And
Yes.
at the time, though, think about all the hate he had to go through, and all the
Yes.
people who was not in agreement with him and what he stood for and what he said, and
Yes.
look the impact he had, you know,
Yeah.
on the world.
Yes, I love a lot of Jesus's comebacks when they'd be like whispering about him, or
Yeah,
they'd be asking questions thinking he didn't know what they were what they were
yeah,
asking. And he's like, like, okay, I kind of like, I see what you're doing, and
mhm,
here's the answer, and it ain't what you think it's gonna be. um or it's like when it talks about how he knew in his heart why they were asking these certain things. Like the scripture comes to mind when they were asked, like, why is he eating with them, like, why does
mhm,
he eat with sinners? And
yeah,
but his comebacks were amazing, as to why he was doing what he was doing.
yeah,
um but it's like, it's wild to me that people, um just it is. And I see it as it's a control, it's a control thing.
mhm,
You're trying to control something that you're never going to be able to really control.
yeah,
um but also the effects that it has too, with if it's all these different voices saying these things about one person, how it becomes true to people. And it's
oh,
like,
absolutely,
yeah, like, have you ever spent a day with that person?
mhm,
Not at all. Like, you haven't even spent a day with this person, yet you believe something
mhm,
about them that I mean, just because 100 people say it,
yeah,
those 100 people don't know them either. Yeah.
yeah.
Like,
So that doesn't mean that it's true.
that is true, just because a whole bunch of
Mhm.
people say it. And it was like, do you even know them? No, I don't know them, but I know that they, like, so how do you don't even know them? Like I have
Yeah.
had conversations like that with people. Like it's like, do you even know that? But have you met them? Do you know? No, but I know that they. Well, how do you know? You
But
don't
you
even.
but you don't know.
Yeah, you have no idea. And I'm like, oh, the stuff that we think we know that we have no clue
Yeah.
about. I'm like, Jesus, why are we this way?
Mhm. Yeah, I
Like,
know, right?
why? What is going on with us that we do this? Like, how do you know them? And so that's a question that I ask a lot. I'm like, do you know them? Did they say that to you? I mean, were you in a vicinity with them that you saw
Yeah.
something? I have questions when people tell me what they know.
Yeah.
Do you okay? Like how do you know that? Well, such and such said. Okay, then you don't know
Well,
that.
then we're not gonna go there.
Yeah, that's hearsay and it doesn't hold
Mhm.
up.
Yeah, it doesn't hold up.
It doesn't hold up. Yeah, it won't hold up in a court of law, and it ain't gonna hold up here. It's just
Not
wild to
soon.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Like stop. Look, you don't know. I tell myself that all the time. When stuff comes to me, I'm like, well, I know. No, I don't. I don't know that. I wasn't there. I didn't see it. Nobody's told
Yeah.
me this.
Somebody
Like,
had said something. Did you recognize? And I'm like, nope, did not recognize that because I literally, if it is not directly affecting me, I do not pay attention.
yes. And I'm like, I
I'm
know
like,
that. See, yeah,
I have been completely unaware of that, but there again, um, I don't pay attention to things like that.
yeah, like it doesn't. And I know that I can be very non-observant of a lot.
Oh, me
Um,
too.
I
But
can.
I can be it's so strange because Eric will say that. He'll be like, "You can, like, not pay attention to literally something right in front of you." But there again, if it's something I'm interested in or something, like, I can tell you very detailed things. And I'm like,
Yes.
it's what if I'm interested in it, I can it's very detailed to me. But
Yes.
there again, if I'm just walking down, then I mean, I'm very non-observant about most.
Yes. And that's what, like one of my children said that to me. Mother,
Mhm.
you don't observe much. He was like,
Yeah,
we were just like right there. I was like, I didn't see it.
I
And I'm
didn't
like,
see
if
it.
I'm yeah, I'm like, it can and it really can if it could be like he was like, they just walk right past us.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I don't know what you are talking about, and I
Yeah,
really won't know what you are talking about.
yeah,
Um, I'm like, I don't. It's not gonna matter how much you try to make me know it. I didn't see it. It
yeah,
doesn't matter that they walk right past me. I didn't see them. Um,
yeah,
so I can't tell you anything about
mhm.
about that. But that is how I operate a lot.
Yeah, me
Uh,
too.
and sometimes I have that. I'm like, I don't know that. I'm like some things. I think it's best that I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I don't. Or I probably didn't need to see that. That's why I didn't.
Mhm.
Which is probably helpful. That I don't see a lot. But yeah, like it this. I think I'm observing when I need to be.
Yeah,
Um, when it's necessary. But if it's not that big of a deal, I just don't believe in getting myself all worked up about nothing.
yeah.
Just
I agree with that
like
too.
it's
Because 'cause I'm
not
like,
gonna
"No, did
profit me.
not was not observant, did not see that."
Yeah.
Nor did I recognize it, because there again, probably didn't care too much about it to
Yes.
want to observe.
Yeah. Like is this gonna harm me in any kind of way? Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like, if it's not usually affecting me, then I'm like, whatever.
Yeah. I was like, and sometimes I have asked the Lord, and not, and I'm like, I know that I have been self-centered at
Yeah,
times like that. That's just a thing. Like I have.
yeah, we
It can
all are.
still, yeah, it can still be, it can still be. Um, but I'm like, Lord, is that, like is that selfish? And it's like not, no, it just didn't that was unimportant. It wasn't
Yeah.
that wasn't gonna benefit you or not benefit, you know, so it's like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, because I'm like, I do like have an ability to not care about a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
And I think just sometimes when I have said that in different settings, you know, to people, it's almost like they're offended. But I'm
Mhm.
like, I mean, I'm not gonna really care that you're offended either, because I
Yeah.
don't feel like like that's something that I should is
Isn't that the
yeah,
truth? It's just like
yeah,
I wish I could care a little bit more, but like you'll work through it.
yeah. And I'm like, I'm like, I don't need to care about that. And
Yeah.
I don't feel like I don't feel like it's going to be beneficial for me. So I'm
Yeah.
sorry if my lack of caring upsets you.
Yeah.
But I'm not
My
going to
mom,
change
that's
it.
something my mom would be like, "You need to care more, Hope. You need to care more about this. You need to, this." And I would just like, "Yeah, but I don't."
I don't,
You
and
know.
nothing in
Sometimes,
me wants to. Like
yeah.
there's
I mean,
no
I
part
know
of
that
me.
you can go like to the extreme. Like, I mean, obviously there are some things
Yeah,
that you need to care about, but
yeah,
like when it
yeah,
comes to certain things, then I think, not caring is much better because that's how the hate happens. People are
happens.
caring so
Yeah,
much about what's going on in everybody else's lives but their own.
yes,
Um, and so they have all of these opinions and about somebody they've never met or something they've read about or overheard. And then all of a
yeah,
sudden, and it's just to me, it's just like, why? Like what is
yes,
like well, one, I think of like what's in you that you're trying to fulfill with that. Because there's
yes,
something missing where you're like just hyper focused because I feel like a lot of times I see it on the internet a lot. People are just very hyper focused on different things. And I'm
yeah,
just like what is it that you're trying to avoid? Is that
yes,
avoidance? I mean, not it may not
yes,
always be the case, but a lot of times I'm like, what is this? What benefit is
yeah,
this giving you? Like what is
yeah,
what are you getting from this? I mean, I ask
right,
myself a lot too with different things. I'm like, what
yes,
is this feeding me? What am I getting from this? And
right,
if it's something good, then I can continue on. If it's not, then let's find another resolution.
yeah, yeah. And I'm like that too. Like I know that there's if I'm getting too involved in something
Mhm.
that like makes zero sense for me to be
Yeah.
involved with, or is like, what am I, so I ask myself that question, what am I maybe trying to avoid within
Mhm.
me, that
Mhm.
I'm focusing, that I'm focusing over here, because like really and truly, like I there's so much to of my life that I've been freed from a lot and healed from a
Mhm.
lot, but there's still stuff to go. I'm still
Of
alive. There's still,
course.
so I'm like, there's still stuff to go. So to me, I don't have time to be overly concerned with somebody else and going back to their clothing choice, or
Yeah.
you know, whatever the case may be. Like, no, I need to be asking the Lord about me,
Mhm.
and um about me and what he wants me to do,
Yeah, that's
and be
good.
more concerned about that
Mhm.
than stuff that doesn't matter in the grand scheme
Yeah.
of my life and his plans for me, and his plans for
Mhm.
me. So I don't think that and that's why I say I'm not going to apologize or anything, that if somebody else is offended at my lack of caring
Yeah.
about something that has zero to do with me or what he's called me to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
that's
like, it's like
good.
he hadn't called me to everything. He's called me to something, but he
Yeah,
hasn't
that's
called me
good.
to everything. So that's why I'm just like, no, I'm not gonna, if it's, And it's not too, he told us to be in Philippians 4:6. He says, be careful for
Mhm.
nothing. I'm
Mhm.
not going to be full of care about anything. Like I
Mhm.
remember when my youngest son started driving, um, I would say a lot to him when he would, leave the house
Mhm.
to be careful,
Be careful.
be careful. And one day it dawned on like, and the Holy Spirit told me, he was like, you're telling him to be full of care, and I told you to be careful for nothing.
Uh,
So I started telling him to, um, whenever he would leave, I'd say, okay, stay safe, or be
yeah.
safe or something like that. So I would tell him like, yeah, I'm telling him to be full of care about something that you tell us to be careful for nothing.
Yeah.
Um,
That's good.
yeah, so it's like, but in everything by prayer. So I'm like, with him leaving the house, my prayer is, he's like, make your request known. With Thanksgiving, make your request known. So I'm like, okay, so I don't have to tell him to be careful. I can tell,
Yeah.
I can tell him to be safe. And with Thanksgiving, I pray for God to protect him. So that's my request.
Yeah.
Like, God, you protect him while he's, driving on the roadways, to help him to be aware of what he needs to be aware of, and others to be aware of him,
Yeah,
on the
of
roadways.
course.
So I started praying that way. So I take the instructional scripture literally, because it is. So I'm
Mhm.
like, he told us to not. So so I'm just following that model when I don't care.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah, that's
I don't
good.
care. So I'm not going to be full of care about nothing because he told me
Mhm.
not to. Um, so I'm like, yeah, anything else, I will talk to him about it, thank him for whatever I want the outcome to be, and I'll keep it pushing. And that's why
Yeah.
I'm peaceful when I do that, because that's what his word says.
Yeah,
That
that's how he called
yeah,
us to live. So what
yes.
is you asked me, so what is the last thing that God has spoken to you?
The last thing that he spoke to me was to be still,
Hmm.
to be still. I'm like, okay,
And what is
I
that in
will.
regards to? Is that be still in your mind and like meditation? Is that like be like physically still? What can you elaborate a little bit
Right.
more?
Yes. I think being still in my mind, and
Mhm.
not, you know, trying to get ahead of him, or yeah, I have all of these thoughts sometimes that are
Mhm.
just all over the place. But he's just like, be still, and when it's time to do whatever it is, I'll let you
Yeah.
know. But for now, just be
Yeah.
still. So I think it is both in a mental and physical state, to just chat, like, chill
Yeah.
out. Yeah. Um, I'll let you know when you need to know. So I'm like,
Well, I
okay. And I
think
think that,
sometimes 'cause
yeah,
we have these thoughts and we're like, I went through like a season where I would just have these thoughts and I would feel like I need to accomplish things. And so then I would kind of like start,
yeah,
okay, like I felt like this is like something you wanted me to do, God. But then what I found was I was feeling very overwhelmed because I was trying to do a lot and not really accomplishing anything.
yes, yes. And that's exactly what I was feeling. I was just like, oh, like, it's all these things I want to do.
Yeah.
And he's just like, be still,
And
like,
I realized I couldn't do any one thing really exceptionally well if was having so much other things going on.
yes,
And so, like, instead of trying to like conquer the world, whatever I feel like I've been called to do, why don't you
yes,
just kind of, all right, if you let's complete what I have right here in front of you. So, this is what I
yes,
have called you to do right now. Now, not saying I haven't called you to these other things, but to
yeah,
get there, you got to do this. And
yes,
so, and that kind of helped me because I was like, oh my gosh, I need to work on this. And I was like, I'm literally not getting anything accomplished right now.
yes. Because our mind is when your mind is all over the place, it's difficult for you to focus on
Yeah.
the task at hand. And I really believe that's what he was, telling me, like, hey, one thing at a time. We're be still, and
Ah,
let's do one thing at a time.
yeah.
because I know the plans that I have for you. Like,
Mhm.
there is a plan, it's a good plan, and I know what it is. And I'm gonna share it with you at the time that it needs to be shared with you. So just chill
Yeah.
out. Like, just be still and chill out. So I'm like, okay. So I really did have to just take
Just kind
a seat back and be like, okay. So daily, I'm just like, okay, what do you want me to do today?
that's
Go
good.
back to the basics. That was another thing that he, spoke to me, was, to go back to the basics of what I know, to do, is to trust in him with all of my heart, lean not on my own understanding,
Mhm.
in all my ways acknowledge him, and he'll direct my path. So it's
Mhm.
daily. What do you want me to do
That's
today?
good.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about tomorrow. Just what do you want from me today?
Yeah.
What moves do I need to make today? So that has helped me to be more still,
Yeah.
not be grasping at straws.
Yeah. I mean, that's good. I think God like gives us these visions, gives us these goals. I know that he has, what he has for us. But I also think being patient and trusting him and
Mm-hmm.
being able to just handle what he's given you like for today. Like he
Yes.
wants us to show up and be present and do our best for whatever is today. And then
Yeah.
once we're doing that, then he'll help prepare us for what he has for us tomorrow. Uh,
Absolutely. Yes.
because it can be chaotic. My mind can get really chaotic when I'm trying to feel like I'm trying to do so much, and it dawned on me a few months ago when I felt like that, and I realized it was a lack of failure that I was feeling. I didn't want to fail.
Mm. Yeah.
So I didn't. Well, the fear of failure. So I don't want
Yeah.
to fail. So I need to accomplish all this. Because I felt like I need to prove something. What do you need? I don't need to prove anything. God,
Yes.
I'm alive. I'm good. There's
Yes.
nothing.
That's
If I
already
could,
good. Yeah.
yeah, and that was something I had to deal with myself. That was self
Yes.
worth. I felt like it went back to that self worth stuff. With there's
Yeah.
nothing you need to prove. There's nothing
Mm-mm.
you need to prove to yourself. Yeah, these are that's awesome. You and I will like God's like I will help you
Yeah.
do whatever I have for you. But it goes back to the basics of let's deal with what's going on inside of you right now, Hope,
Yes.
because
Yes.
I can't get you to to this other mark until you're stable enough within
Yes.
yourself.
Within yourself to go over there. Yeah. To go over
Yeah,
there.
like we got to get this fear of failure, this that spirit of like lack
Yeah.
of out, because you can't have that.
Yeah. Where
Because
I'm
you'll
trying to take you, it can't
y-
go with you. Yeah.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
process though. you know
It is. And I think that's why I say, like, as long as we're alive,
yeah.
there's going to be teachable moments,
Mhm.
and things that, he's plucking out of us, because we are, like, as we're bearing fruit, stuff has to be pruned, stuff has to, it
Yeah.
has to be taken away. So I I, I love that about the our growth process, because
Mhm.
if we're not growing, we're dead. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, no, I want to grow, I want to learn, I want to, whatever he has for me, that's what I want.
Yeah.
And so, like, just going after it, but also just not doing, just grasping at straws that he never told me to grasp at.
Mhm.
And
That's
doing what
good.
he wants me to do today. So it's like, what do you
Yeah.
want me to do today? Because what I do today, as long as I'm in tune with him, and going towards what he told me to do today, is going to benefit my tomorrow, because he told me to do it.
Mhm.
And so I don't have to worry about tomorrow. I have to think about tomorrow. I'm just in today. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
tell me what to do today. And so I stopped, because I had spent a number a huge part of my existence being a procrastinator.
Yeah.
So that can that it used to be real tricky for me, real tricky for
Mhm.
me because I'm like, am I procrastinating or am I
Mhm.
really just waiting on him to instruct me? And it's like,
Yeah.
no, like I really am just I'm waiting on him to instruct me. So because I don't want to be doing what's not necessary.
And
And
I think too is, you know, am I uneasy doing it? How do I feel?
mm-hmm,
And I think
yeah,
that tells us something.
yes,
When we have all these tasks. I mean, there's tasks that we're not gonna want to do. It's just living. But just as in
yes,
like things of like accomplishments or whatever, we have like is this something that I know resonates with my spirit? And if it does,
yeah,
then I know that this is what I need to be doing. If I'm iffy
right,
about it, then let me just take a look and is this what is for me in this moment?
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it may not be, yeah, like it may not be for you in this moment. So I just with starting stuff and stopping it too, because that was a huge problem for me too, but it just
Yeah.
with the diagnosis,
Yeah.
of a certain thing that messes with your motivation. Um
Mhm.
and I heard this I don't know what it was on, but this person talking about not not waiting to feel motivated until you do
Yeah.
to do something, but to do it so the motivation comes. So that's how I deal with like my chores around the house because I'm
Yeah.
never going to want to really do them. I mean, that's just
Mhm.
there's so many other pleasant things that I can think of to do
Mhm.
besides wash dishes or something like that.
Mhm.
So it's like, so those are, the type of things that I'm like, I just got to do it. And the motivation to finish it will come as I'm doing it. And so I've learned that I operate in that with a lot of things. I got to start it. If it's something that I believe that I want to do and I continue to believe that I want to do it after a certain amount of time, then I just need to get in there and do it
And just
so
start
that
it.
I can, yeah, start it. And then once I start it, then that helps me to want to get to the end of it.
Yeah.
If there's an end
Yeah.
to it. And so like I think knowing the difference between that kind of stuff too, like, okay, there's going to be an end date to this. So
Mhm.
once I get into it, and then it's like, no, I want to make it to the end. I don't want to give up in the middle. I don't want to, quit. I want to make it to the end.
Yeah.
And having kind of that. So I started it. Now I'm motivated to complete it.
To complete it. Yeah.
Yeah, versus shutting it down before I even start it. So that's what makes me not start because
Yeah.
if I think of all of these things of why, oh my gosh, that's gonna take a long time. So then
Yeah.
I'm overwhelmed with just thinking about the
Yeah.
amount of time that it's gonna take. And so then it's like, oh well, I didn't go towards that. So like
Yeah.
now a year that I could have been working on it has passed and I
Mhm.
didn't work on it, I didn't do it, then it was like, oh, should have just started it. And then I'd be halfway through it, or whatever,
Yeah.
if I just begin the process. So I've learned that too about how I operate as far as
Mhm.
motivation is concerned. I'm like, yeah, it's better for me to go ahead and
Jump
put it
in
in
and
motion. Yeah. And then that's when the motivation comes to complete it or whatever. And I might have to tell my, you know, brain a few times that no, we can't move on until we finish this.
yeah.
However long it takes,
Mhm.
some things are short term, some things are more longer term, but it's like we can't move on until we finish this.
Yeah.
Um, because if we don't, we might be overwhelmed and that's just not gonna be good. Um, so I think learning ourselves and being in and that's what it takes. That's why we don't have any business being so concerned about other people.
I know,
We
right?
miss, yeah, that we miss the stuff about us that
Hmm.
could actually help us to move us forward, in life. So instead of complaining
Yeah,
about everybody else and what they doing, what about you? What are you wanting to do that you're not doing by
yeah,
spending too much time worried about these people that don't matter in your life at all?
yeah, exactly.
So that is
That's good.
yeah, I think that's a way I'm gonna just continue to look at life from here on out.
Well, I like that.
Yeah, that is the
That's a good
that is the
perspective
plan.
to have and to keep.
Yes, that is the plan. Well, awesome. Well, I think we had a good chat today.
Yes, we
What do
did.
you think? You think
I
so?
I enjoyed it
Me
as
too.
always.
Me too. Well, that will do it for us today on the D Hope podcast. Thank you for being on this whimsical journey with us today.
Yeah.
We hope that we said something that will provide hope and resiliency in your life. And we'll see you next time.
Yep. Thank you guys.
Bye.